G'day there guys, it's Connor here again and we're back with some more stories from Reddit. As always, if you enjoy these videos, be sure to hit like and subscribe and all that stuff, and let's get stuck in. Okie dokie, we're on True Off My Chest. This one was written by user WeakSignal99 and it's titled, My negligence cost my partner her life and I'm about to lose everything. I, 35 male, have been married to Lisa, 28, for 3 years, together 7. A year ago, I fell deeply in love with Amy, 24, and have been planning to end my marriage for her. I know it's terrible and not what my wife deserves, but we were the real thing. 2 weeks ago, she had an allergic reaction when we were getting food after work, but she used her EpiPen and seemed mostly okay afterwards. She usually gets checked at the hospital after a reaction, but I asked if I could take her home and she could get her friend to drive her there because my wife was expecting me back. All I know is that she had a secondary reaction that evening and died. I didn't even find out about it until the following Monday through a work email. It has been eating me up ever since, and I'll never forgive myself for not sacrificing an hour of my time to possibly save her. I sent some childish messages to Amy when I didn't hear from her over the weekend because I thought she was angry I didn't take her to the hospital. I'm thankful she never saw them and ashamed that I assumed the worst. Our relationship was great and the highs far outweighed the lows, but I've always hated being ignored and I lose my cool when it happens. It's not a regular occurrence and I would have more than made it up to her. Yesterday at work, HR and legal were in the CEO's office all day, and my manager ended up cancelling our project meeting because he was with them all afternoon. I was on edge, but an affair isn't exactly a corporate crisis, and I thought something would have already happened if anyone knew. I'm now 99% certain it was about me. A few hours ago, I received a message from Amy's phone which said, "This is Amy's brother, Tom. I want you to know it was me." I tried to call, but it went straight to voicemail and none of the messages have been delivered. I tried to call my manager more times than I should have, and he sent a message saying, "Please don't contact me until Monday morning. I can't discuss anything with you right now." So it looks like my universe is going to collapse. I'm going to be fired, and my wife will definitely find out why. All I can do is hope that Amy's brother only showed them the messages from that weekend, and they were bad enough. I have no family except my wife and daughter, and nowhere to go. All of my friends are either people I've met through my wife, or my colleagues. On Monday, everything I've spent over a decade working towards disappears. I can't stop it. I can't talk to anyone about it. So here I am. I know cheaters are the devil, so I'm not expecting sympathy, but this is making my chest hurt, and I need to get it out there. Jesus, what a mess. At least Opie's honest and says he doesn't expect sympathy. He's right about that part at least. But the rest? I don't know, this guy should step on Legos for the rest of his life in my opinion. Let's go to the comments. Tom has real Elena Tyrell energy. True king crap. Realistically, I can't blame him. His sister is dead because Cheaty McCheaterface over here had other things to do. He can't have him arrested, but he can otherwise ruin his life. OP, the absolute worst thing here isn't losing your wife, family, job, or support system. It's living with your guilt. Best of luck. Can you imagine your beautiful, sweet daughter marrying a man who she thought loved her? He made vows to her and had a child with her. Only he found a young, impressionable little thing at work who he decided was 1% better than her and therefore was worth neglecting her and their child, cheating on her for, risking his job by getting her promotions she wasn't qualified for, and was planning to leave her for. This person was only 1% better. Your daughter, cheated on by a POS who only thought with his dick. What would you say about that? Wow, you hate being ignored but are totally cool with ditching your wife and child? Are you really this self-centered? You've probably been ignoring your wife and child for ages over a lady you couldn't stand to not respond to due to her medical emergency. She had a reaction in front of you and you got mad instead of maybe possibly thinking she was dealing for anaphylaxis. Everything that's about to happen to you is your karma. Yep, enough said. Okay, now for an update, 1 week later. I've been consistently harassed for an update since posting, so please take it. Gloat because you're such wonderful people in comparison, then stop following me around Reddit. I'm suffering in the wake of my infidelity and unprofessional behavior as I knew I would. I understand that is an appropriate outcome, and I'm taking full accountability. I was suspended from work on Monday, and I'll probably be fired sooner than I thought. I'd hoped to be able to save money as HR built their case, but it looks like Amy's brother basically performed the entire investigation for them. After an excruciating 3-hour run-through of everything they had, I spoke to the founder and he recommended the solicitor I'm now using. The issue is that the company has to come down hard to protect themselves because even though Amy's family doesn't have much chance of any claim, any suggestion of a cover-up would cause damage regardless. The founder still thinks my offer to pay them back will keep it out of the court, and some more information has come to light, so it's not certain I won't be prosecuted, but I'm quietly hopeful. I can't afford to keep the solicitor if this goes on much further, especially with a divorce on the horizon. Things are not good with my wife. I'm still committed to making this as easy as possible for her, but I had to draw a line when it came to my daughter. When I got home from being unceremoniously escorted out of my office, she already had a bag packed for me. She wouldn't let me wait at the house until my daughter was back. She wouldn't let me check I had everything I needed. She wouldn't let me take the car, and she didn't care that I had nowhere to go. I spent 2 nights in a hotel, then went back when she refused to let me see my little girl. She tried to stop me, but we own the house jointly, and it was my only option. My wife has family she could stay with, but she won't leave our daughter here, and she's absolutely not taking her, so we're at a stalemate right now. I'm keeping out of her way as best I can, which I appreciate is the least I can do. The Amy situation is quite difficult to talk about, and a lot hasn't sunk in yet. It turns out that she didn't love me as much as I loved her, if at all. Her brother sent me images of her talking to her friends about me, and it's hard to believe they came from the person I loved, but they're real. Sorry to those who were heavily invested in me being a predatory abuser, but she and her friends had a good laugh about her manipulating me for money and a promotion. The role came with a big pay rise, and it looks like her plan was to treat it as free cash, then go work with one of her friends when it fell through. She knew I'd come under scrutiny whenever she messed up and assumed I'd keep stepping in to save her. She was right. Obviously, I am completely humiliated. I was planning to give up everything to build a life with her, and she was treating me like a joke the whole time. My feelings are complicated, so please don't feel entitled to any expansion on this, but I no longer feel guilt over her death. Reddit acted like I kept her hostage whilst she begged for help. What actually happened was that I asked if she could ask her friend to take her to the hospital because I had to go home. She said that was fine because she needed to get some clothes back from hers anyway, and I dropped her off as normal. Ultimately, she was an adult who had a better understanding of her medical needs than I did. I still don't know what happened between us saying goodbye and her death, but whatever it was, it had nothing to do with me. I'm sorry for her family's loss, but I bear no responsibility for her passing. After Amy's messages to her friends were passed around, a few people quietly reached out with words of support. I assumed everyone would write me off like Reddit did, as an abuser and predator. Now it's clear that Amy was using me. They see me as a fool who had then lost it all. It's beyond humiliating, but I've learned I'd rather be pitied than despised, and it improves my legal position with work. They're small mercies, but I'll take what I can get. I remain filled with regret, and I will have learned many lessons by the time I get through this. I may have been deceived, but I'm a grown man who made my choices, and I take full responsibility for them. Okay guys, and now we have a post from a co-worker of OP's, more than a year later. I'm a co-worker of someone whose Reddit story about work went viral. I'm feeling chatty, so AMA I guess. Inspired by this post where someone asked if they'd ever seen a Reddit post about themselves. I'm in the comments because I worked at the same company as this guy, and in the same department as his affair partner, who died under very sad circumstances. You can read all about it from his perspective, conveniently. I only joined Reddit quite recently, but I was aware of the post a few weeks after it was made because it was passed around the office and gave us all a ton of information, which made a lot of things suddenly make sense. We were all extremely invested at the time, and weirdly, the story you all saw set off a series of events which basically led to an entire division of the company quitting. I've seen it repeated on a few of those TikTok Reddit read-through accounts, and a few people in the comments of the post I saw earlier today seemed interested, so because the company didn't think to get me to sign any additional confidentiality agreements when I left, an equally dramatic but also closely related story, I figured I'd spend a Friday night drinking wine and spilling tea if anyone wants some. One thing I do need to mention is that the original OP has a brain injury he didn't disclose in his posts. I can't speculate too much on that, and I'm not saying it makes his actions forgivable, but it would be crazy to pretend it's not a factor. He lives independently, but from what I'm aware, his brother helps him a lot. And now for the questions in the comments. Does anyone know what happened to this POS at the end? Are the wife and daughter doing okay? Is Tom still cool? Coworker says, dropping by months later to answer your question, I used to work with OP and people still talk about his posts. Wife and daughter are fine. She kept the house and is in another relationship. Tom cost their family her death benefits, then turned up at one of OP's colleagues' houses, trashed her car and got arrested. The original post didn't even cover half of the craziness. It's so interesting how the fact that he had a brain injury changes this story and makes it make a different sort of sense. Like how, on the other hand, you and your coworkers reading the Reddit post did the same, but in a different way. They reply, oh for sure, we were absolutely horrified by some of the things people were saying to him when it started getting passed around, and we were really worried about how he'd take it all. There was talk of creating an account to explain, but because it was looking like it might end up in court, no one wanted to risk it. Can't blame them really, but it's definitely mad how much that fact changes things. Did it end up going to court? No, they all used to abuse their expenses, and they knew he could bury everyone if it ever saw the inside of a courtroom. He claimed to be running out of money in his last post, but it was common knowledge he got a huge payout after his accident. A sign wasn't properly mounted on the shop front, and it fell on him when he was walking past, so he could have easily afforded to take it all the way. I imagine the first question would have been why they gave someone with brain damage a company card with no restrictions and no written policy on what they could and couldn't use it for. I read quite a bit of that post, and checked out all of your comments. Thanks for adding on more details. My question, had your coworker not gotten the brain injury, do you think he still would have done what he did? They say, I wasn't particularly close to him, but the common take is that he wouldn't have given his affair partner the time of day before his injury. She was really unpleasant. By all accounts, he was a really devoted husband and father. He definitely wasn't a saint, but he calmed down a lot when his daughter was born, and he talked about her all the time. With as much detail as you can get into, how did this guy's mess lead to the whole cascade of people quitting? Also, I'm fascinated by the affair partner's brother's arrest and all the drama he brought down on the whole office. What happened there? They reply, he mentioned in his post that one of the founders of the company gave him advice about the situation and got him in touch with a solicitor who ended up representing him. That was the stick they used to beat the founder in question with, and after an EGM, or an extraordinary general meeting, he was suddenly no longer with us in any capacity. The founder was the inventor of the technology we based all of our work on, and he is a genius, but also a great guy. He was absolutely and consistently and correctly opposed to our stuff being applied to defense. As soon as he was pushed out, we got a new brief, and the TLDR is that the entire R&D division, or Research and Development division, was handpicked by him, and we were collectively smart and talented enough to be fine after we quit on the spot when killing brown kids became part of the role. The general take was that they wanted him gone because he was standing in the way of some juicy contracts, and that was the opportunity that presented itself. I don't know the gory details because I don't work at that level, but the version that filtered down was that he acted against the interests of the business. Defense is where the money is, and the tech was pretty much perfect for the sector. Another commenter says, the other candidate for the promotion that got shafted in favour of his affair partner, how did she take the news that said partner was only promoted and held her position due to a quid pro quo? Did she ever get that promotion, or did she quit the company as well? The coworker replies, it was a man, and if I get a say, he'll never work again. One part of Tim's original story that is outright untrue is that neither his affair partner or the other candidate were fully qualified for the role. The other guy was more than qualified, and that's about the only good thing I can say about him. I was there when he, quote, got his revenge, and I haven't spoken to him since, along with pretty much everyone present. On paper, I totally agree that the OP deserved to get the crap kicked out of him, but when it actually happened, it was like watching a child being abused. He was scared and confused and didn't defend himself in any way. I nearly cried at the thought of it whilst writing this comment. It was truly disgusting. The other guy was wronged in a really significant way, but there's absolutely no excuse for what he did. My apologies if I missed this in his original post, but the candidate who was overlooked ended up beating up the OP or male coworker who had the affair. Yeah, Tim didn't mention it in his posts, but the other candidate beat him halfway to hell when it all came out. This all happened in the bar next to the office after he'd been fired. I don't know why he turned up because he didn't really get a chance to say much before the other guy, well, I'm not trying to introduce names because Tim used everyone's real name in the original post, started absolutely thrashing him. It was awful. People were in tears watching it happen. What's the common consensus on why he ended up starting the affair with her after his brain injury? Also, did you recognize the reasoning behind his original post as distinctly him? And if so, is his reasoning something that he's always had, or did it come out post-injury? To be honest, he seemed sharper in the post than he does in real life, but we were all very aware of his issues. He had some problems with memory, his mood went up and down a lot, and he would behave quite childishly sometimes, so we maybe treated him with kid gloves more than was necessary. He was definitely doing good work once they took him away from clients though. I used to regularly get requests from him and they were always solid. In terms of the affair, I think it's as simple as her showing interest. He was a bit pervy after the accident, not even remotely the case before. He never said anything over the line, but he'd stare a bit, and his facial expressions were sometimes like if a 12-year-old boy walked in on you changing. Some of the messages that came out after the fact painted the picture. She would say the same things to him every few days, and when she wanted something, she asked, and asked like it was a brand new request until he said yes. Do you know what texts he sent the affair partner over the weekend that he was worried about? I never saw them, but they sounded more pathetic than aggressive from what I heard, and very much in line with his usual reaction to feeling ignored. He wasn't really aware of the boundaries between asking and pestering. I logged in on a Monday morning a few times to something like, "Hello? Hello? Why aren't you answering? I know you've seen this. Why are you ignoring me? Are you mad with me? I should be mad with you. This could be make or break for the company. You're not committed to the company. I always knew you were useless. Everyone thinks it. Are you there? Why aren't you answering me? We're going to lose this client if you don't get back to me today. Hello? Hello? Are you okay?" You get the idea. Tens of messages, but as soon as I'd answer the question, he'd thank me and be totally professional with his follow-up. The best way I can describe it is that he was fine right up to the point where he needed to regulate himself in any way. He couldn't have sat in a client meeting, but because we all knew the score, we worked to keep him leveled out. I can't see him saying anything particularly horrible to her. I can almost guarantee you I've looked her in the eye and said worse. That's what blows my mind about the TBI, because of how well written everything is. Do you think he used AI to assist him? It's just so interesting that he could hold down a corporate job that definitely isn't entry level, yet he can't independently handle his own finances. What kind of accident did he have that caused the injury? The coworker responds, "I don't think he'll ever work again. He kept his job because he was adored and respected, and he knew the tech inside and out even after the accident, but there's no way he could properly navigate a corporate environment from scratch." The accident would have been funny if it didn't have such a horrible outcome. He was walking down the street and the sign above a dry cleaners fell on him. In the early days, they thought he was going to need to go into full-time care permanently, but his wife dropped everything and basically devoted her life to his rehabilitation. He's very lucky to have had her. He's impulsive now and he doesn't really know how to regulate his emotions, but he can hold a conversation and will occasionally say something wildly funny or insightful. AI could have helped, or maybe even his brother. But the thing that shocked me the most was that he seemed to stay on an even keel throughout the post and comments. He's quite up and down in real life, even via text. What was Amy like? What was her brother like? I saw a comment somewhere that the brother got arrested for something as a result of conversations between Amy and others that he disclosed. What happened? I'm going to speak ill of the dead. She was horrible. Lazy, judgmental, mean, and arrogant. When she was promoted into project management, she didn't bother learning the core tech, so her decisions were consistently poor, which forced us to go around her all the time to get to reasonable outcomes. She once told me I'd never get a husband, then burst into tears and complained to HR when I asked where the queue of men wanting to put a ring on her finger was. She would pick at the weaker members of the team, highly technical people who were very sweet but lacked social skills usually, and was a general bully. I was pretty nasty to her too, so my hands aren't exactly clean, but I had great relationships with everyone else, so I do think she was the problem. The brother sent lots of messages in, and the company ended up getting the phone and passcode from him. I'm very light on details on this one, but whatever was on there was damning enough for them to cancel her death and service benefits, which were going to go to her mum. The brother sent some threatening messages and managed to find out where the HR head lived. I don't know exactly what he did to her car, but it was a write-off and he was arrested for it. We got a big email saying legal action was pending and that any comms from him needed to be forwarded straight to the dedicated email address. I left while that was all pending, so never heard a follow-up, but I doubt it went very far given how sticky the whole situation was. The coworker comments on Opie's personality. His personality definitely changed significantly. He can hold a conversation and his knowledge level remained extremely high, but he became quite immature and couldn't deal with anything if he wasn't expecting it. He could provide really insightful feedback about something we were working on, and then 2 minutes later lose his temper or shut down completely because he spilled a drink. He had to step back from dealing with clients because he couldn't be trusted. He'd just say yes to whatever they asked for, and it led to a few nasty surprises. He didn't take any new clients after the injury, so they were generally very understanding because they saw the same changes we did. It's tough to explain. If you met him on a good day, you could spend a few hours with him and not realize, but any more than that and you'd almost certainly go through, "Oh, that was a bit odd," to, "Okay, there's definitely something wrong here." To my knowledge, nobody tried to figure out how aware he was of the brain injury. The key phrase drummed into us when he started coming back to the office a bit was, "Meet him where he is." And he was a really well-respected member of the team, so we were all really sympathetic to the situation. I did hear him make a few comments about his brain being broken, but they were fairly light-hearted and mainly centered around him forgetting small things. Regarding the TBI, when exactly did that happen? Was it before or after the affair? Was it before or after he blew off the sister-in-law's stillborn child's service so he could be with the affair partner? His accident was in 2022, so long before any of this stuff, and everyone who knows him is of the opinion that the TBI was the driving factor for the affair and everything that came afterwards. Missing the memorial service for the baby was something we only knew about because of the Post, and even knowing his challenges, it's impossible to be anything other than disgusted by it. The coworker comments on why Amy wasn't taken to the hospital. I mentioned in another comment that this is one of the big unanswered questions everyone had about the situation after we saw the Post. We're in the UK, so an ambulance doesn't have strings attached, and that would have been the logical choice as soon as she had a reaction. I saw a comment today that really bothered me though. I didn't know that confusion is one of the after effects of anaphylaxis. When we were told what to do if she had a reaction, anything beyond administering her EpiPen came down to calling 999 and following their instructions. I can't stop thinking about the possibility that she was completely and blatantly out of it when she agreed to go home, and that he just didn't pick up on it because of his TBI. It's clear that I didn't like her, but that's a frickin' horrendously sad way to go out. Did the coworker and OP know each other before the accident? I joined the company in 2018, so I spent more time with him before his accident than after. All strictly at work and work events though, we weren't friends. But he was like a totally different person. Bits of his original personality did come through as time went on, but not anywhere near the point where you could forget you were dealing with a fundamentally different personality. Wow, okay guys, and that's all we've got for that story so far. Yeah, lots of different things going on here. I don't know about you guys, but the more I read, the more I just kind of felt sorry for this guy. Like, I know he cheated on his wife and kids and all of that, and that's totally unforgivable, but traumatic brain injury is a serious business. And I don't think we even fully understand what it can do to someone's psyche. But yeah, anyway, as always guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Otherwise, that's it from me today. Hope you guys enjoyed that story, thanks for making it to the end, and I'll see you all in the next video. Have a good day. Cheers.